Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I'm Jason, your host, and today we're going to start a new series on mental health called Bad Things. Bad things can happen. A lot of the time I say I have these coping strategies so that bad things don't happen. Now, the bad things can happen is unique to everyone. Anyone with bipolar, ADHD, autism, or any of the massive different realm of mental issues and problems can know the bad things can happen. They're all very unique. They're all the things, the coping strategies, everything that you build out together. And some of them, the bad things can happen aren't that bad. For example, disconnection and disassociation. I can be walking around my house, and if I don't watch it, if I don't have my audiobook on, if I'm not I've got a low level something in my mind. Some people use music, I use audible books and things like that. I found them to be the most perfect thing to just helpfully stop. If I just walk on the house, a disconnection, a dissonance can happen, and I will just basically stop where I am. And the world around me doesn't really matter anymore. Something will grab my attention, either externally, will trigger it, or internally. And I'll just not be here anymore. It's the easiest way to think. I'll not be here anymore. I'll be elsewhere in my brain. I'll be disconnected from emotions or amplified by emotions. I'll be in a different place. And that can be as simple as my brain focusing on something like a stain on the wall or a frayed edge of the carpet. My mind will get distracted and go off on extrapolating ideas and thoughts and situations, and hours can go back past 3, 4, 5, 6 out. Just an entire day can just disappear, and it's not a bad thing as in exhausting or anything like that. It's the loss of time. It's one of my big fears if the benefit system and the DWP ever do force me into doing a job. Because what if one of them happens when I'm supposed to be working? It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now. My survival, my money that pays the bills doesn't actually affected by me just disappearing for 3/4 of a day. But it can be triggered by so many things, and it doesn't usually happen when I'm doing this, when I'm concentrated. It doesn't usually happen when I'm connected to Discord and doing all that. But I can't just be connected to Discord all the time. I need downtime, I need space. And I can't listen to... I burn through Audible books like fucking no one's business. I mean, I am on book 11 of Defiance of the Fall now, and there's only 2 more books left, which I've already bought. And each book is between 23 and 24 hours long. And I can, depending on whether it's a good day or a bad day, I can eat through a book in half a week. So thankfully I've got lots of books in my system. I always hold my Audible books. I have a set of ones that I can reread. Yay for my focus on them. And they're all like a silver bullet against stuff like this. But I'm always looking for new books, because new books have a little tiny bit of an edge on the old one. The old ones are comfort. It's a bit like watching the Scrub series over and over again. I can still watch it, and it does helps me settle down, but yeah. So the disconnection and the dissonance is a mild. It's a mild one. It doesn't actually leave me wrecked. It doesn't leave me in a problematic situation. So let's deal with one of the bad ones. Let's deal with one of the really bad ones. I don't want to deal with one of the even talk about one of the really bad ones, but we're going to talk about it, shine a little light on it. And that is choking to death. Even saying those words makes my throat start to constrict just a very tiny little bit. You see, I need to make sure that my ADHD and everything doesn't focus on this idea. There's a very, very real chance that I will die by one day choking to death due to the damage done to my throat, due to my GERD, the symptoms from bowel cancer, mean that there's a percentage chance that the way I will leave this place will be unable to breathe. And that's not a good thing. And knowing that fact, means that my throat is always an issue. It always will be. And that would be bad enough in its own. But I need to really avoid my mind focusing on it. It's like starting a sentence with "don't panic" or something like that. Or you tell people, whatever you do, don't think about pink elephants. The one thing that nearly everybody's going to do is think about pink elephants. It's a little bit of a trigger of my PTSD in me as well. This idea that, well, you know how I talked about how a person with bipolar can have episodes where they see things and experience things that aren't there. Well, imagine if what you see and you feel, instead of it being an external, is your throat closing up and being unable to breathe. It's like it's a level of anxiety and health anxiety and panic attack that can end up with you in the ER. And it's not a fun thing. It's not a fun thing, but let's move on. I think we should move on from that one. Impending doom. And it relates to what I've just talked about. Someone who's dealing with all this kind of thing, itchy nose, can very easily fall into what's an impending doom scenario. What is impending doom? Well, it's an absolute belief that you're going to end, or the world's going to end, or your heart's going to stop. There's multiple terrifying scenarios, and for everybody it's different, but a lot of people who have really bad anxiety or really bad depression or other things like that, and it can be enhanced by different issues. Impending doom is all hope is lost. Either your personal world is ending or the entire world is ending. It's an absolute feeling that doesn't listen to rationale, that doesn't listen to anything positive, any kind of logic, that everything is going away. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It can push you in deep into suicidal thoughts. It can push you deep into deep depression. It can grab away every bit of mental energy you've got. And it's incredibly hard to get out of once you're in there. And it can be based on anything. It can be based on the stuff going on out there, or it can be something completely internal. It can be triggered by certain things. Now, you would think that the best thing to do in this situation would be to stop watching the news, stop looking at all those things, stop looking at the problems with Iran, with Ukraine, with everything that's going on. But no, that doesn't work. In fact, that makes it worse. Shining a light on it helps. Shining a light on the world's problems helps, because you're putting facts in the way of it. Yes, things are shitty in the world, but they're not at the level of shitty that this impending doom is trying to create in you. So you have to try and get hold on to something. When I talk about bad things happen, that is the whole point of having every single coping strategy I have. It's to fight against the bad things that happen. It's to keep my independence. It's the coping strategies I've created over time. Every single computer in this room, every single item in this room is part of that battle. Part of that keeping things stable. And this is why I think, if someone ever came, like I said, please find me a job that I could do that could cope with my problems and I wouldn't make them worse. Because imagine every layer of bad things happen. Imagine if on top of all of that I face normally, there was a layer of, okay, if you don't actually succeed today, you're not going to get paid, and you're going to lose your house, and you won't be able to feed the dogs, and you won't be able to do anything, and you'll end up losing all your computers and your coping strategies, and you won't be able to pay the electricity bill. Imagine if that layer was on top of everything else. How crippled that would make me. I mean, my mental fortitude is fucking brilliant. My coping strategies and my ability to leverage different parts of my issues, my special interests, my affinity with technology and that, to fight off these things, to make sure bad things don't happen. And everybody has their own bad things. Everyone dealing with mental illness has their own level of bad things. Some need to be on medication to stop the bad things. Some need to be hospitalized. When I think about the way I've been able to cope, and part of me says, oh, I'm so lucky to have all these computers in the room and the arcade machine and everything like that. And I would give every fucking thing up to have one day of peace for my mind. One day of without the exhaustion of fighting. A battle that I can't actually win. A battle that just is an ongoing thing. I've always got to be alert, always got to be to stay independent, to fight this battle, to keep a level of wellness going. But yeah, Paola had a completely different set of bad things happen. Completely justifiable. I mean, her fear of the cancer getting worse. I mean, the big sledgehammer of being told at 21 that you were going to die and this fucking cancer was going to kill you, and there was nothing we could do to actually stop it or cure it. That was a massive, massive problem. And imagine every single pain, every single itch, every single tiny little quirk of her body could trigger a anxiety or panic attack. People think panic attacks are easy to deal with, or just something to shake off. I'm sorry, it's one of the things that TV has never fucking shown in its true horror. I was on the bed once with Paola, and she was having a panic attack that was causing her to shake so violently that she actually, by the end of the night, ended up with bruises within her abdomen. Her body was shaking so violently because of the physical symptoms of this panic attack that and I just remember her repeating over and over, I say, her crying and saying, I can't stop it, I can't stop it. And all I could do was be there and hold her. And the entire bed was vibrating with the power of the shakes that were going through her body. When I do these videos, and as you can tell, this one's a rough one for me. Even talking about these things can actually trigger issues. But I know there's a fucking load of people out there, too many people out there, dealing with these bad things that happen. And they need to know they're not alone. And they need to know that misery loves company, they say. But they need to know that they're not alone, because depression and that loves to isolate you, loves to make you feel like nobody can understand, that nobody can handle this. That nobody can ever understand your bad things can happen. People are so focused on physical illness and that. And if a person hasn't dealt with this kind of trauma and that, even if they love you, it's very hard for them to understand what's going on. I've seen anxiety attacks and panic attacks. And I've faced them myself. I have been in so deeply in a panic attack that the only way I was going to swallow was having a fucking paramedic there with me, because I was absolutely 100% convinced that the moment I swallowed, my breathing, my throat would close up completely and I wouldn't be able to. I would die. And you know I'm a logical, rational person who knows a lot about the medical side of things. But back when my GERD kicked in and we didn't know what it was, and it was causing me to have problems thinking, and my throat was inflaming, and I was convinced it was cancer of the throat. I thought my bowel cancer had finally spread up into my throat, and I was sitting in the living room in the other house, and I hadn't eaten for a week and a half. I had lost so much weight, I was down like 3 t-shirt sizes. And I had called for an ambulance. I was so fucking convinced I was dying. And there was nothing I could do to stop it, because it was a new thing. I didn't have any coping strategies for it. This was the first time when my issues with my throat and the acid had started to inflame my throat, and I didn't have any idea what it was. And I was sitting there terrified. And I remember asking the paramedics who were there to check on me, and I asked them, in a very low voice, if I stop being able to breathe, will you be able to save me? Because I had to swallow. I needed to swallow. I needed to start eating again. Well, we got through it. I know a friend who is once again extremely intelligent, works in AI and that. And for many years, he would have multiple visits to the hospital and that, because he was 100% convinced that his heart was going to fail, that he was going to have a heart attack. This is beyond the normal worries. This is you're deeper into health anxiety and things that you cannot shake off. So when I do these videos, when I do these vlogs about this stuff, this isn't about showing that this isn't about it being, I'm special. This isn't about, oh, look at me. This is about letting other people know who are dealing with this, who perhaps aren't as eloquent and can't put things into words, to let them know that they're not alone. And to let them know that they're people who care for them and love them, understand what they're going through. Yes, so I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. Because I make sure that every single problem I face, I work out, I analyse it, I work out the base causes, I create new coping strategies to deal with it. Fun fact, I still don't consciously swallow when I go to bed. From the moment I lay down in bed, I don't swallow until I get up in the morning. I'm sure I do it during the night while I'm asleep, but consciously I don't swallow. Bad things happen. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That's why the Alchemy machine's on at the moment, because straight after I do this, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to play some Space Invaders, and I'm going to be 9 years old again. And I'm going to be in a chip shop where I first played it, and I'm going to revel in that little tiny bit of peace. Yeah. Bye bye for now.